Okay, welcome back to Business Owners Speak. Today, I'm really happy to have with us Ralph Merhi with ERP.Aero. Ralph, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm good, and I just said the name right, and then we got on and I butchered it. My apologies.
Yeah, it
So,
happens.
yeah, start out by just telling us a little bit about the business, and then we'll go back to let us know how it all started.
Sure. Uh, Not a big secret. The name of the company is ERP.Aero. We are an ERP built specifically for aviation, aerospace, and defense. We work with suppliers, MROs, or repair facilities, distributors, brokers, and a few other company types in order to be able to help them basically manage their core business. So, in short, what an ERP does, in plain language, is it helps an individual or individuals manage their core business all in one place.
Very nice. All right, and I want to talk more about how you actually help and how you build, but if you could
Sure.
take us back to where this all started, how it came about.
Well, that's an interesting story. So I'll have to take a side trip and I'll explain to you everything and hopefully it makes sense. So we'll go back to 2007. Not a lot of time, but in the big picture, it sort of is. I took a job because I didn't know what else to do. I had just sold my business, and the intent at the time was to be there for about 4 or 5 months, start another business and run. But I ended up spending the next 15 or 16 years at that company. It was my introduction to aviation. It was my super introduction to aerospace and defense. Because a couple of years later, I did well and I got the chance to advance. But a couple of years later, I got an opportunity to take a brand new startup to market. It was still under the same umbrella as the company I was working for, but it was a standalone. And for the next 13 or 14 years, I managed to help build that company to over 3,000 customers that are predominantly defense contractors here in the US. It was a SaaS platform that basically gave them information and data they needed in order to conduct their business. So that's how I got into aviation, and that's why I stayed in it because of those experiences. I left that company in 2022. I did a couple of things on the side, and then I finally found ERP.Aero, and two things happened. The first one is I like the people, and to me that's very important because if I don't like the people, I don't get excited, and if I don't get excited, nothing happens. And then I saw the product, and it basically showed me the same opportunity I saw in 2009, but it was 2024. I believe the product is phenomenal. And the reason why I told you a little bit about my history is because throughout that 15 or 16 years in aviation, I got familiar with ERPs, especially ones that cater to aviation. I know the competition, I know where they're good, I know where I think they're not good, so I understand their limitations and where they shine. So when I saw this product, I was absolutely floored, and I decided to come on board. The company wanted me here, so I decided to come on board as a CEO of ERP.Aero. And then we've been trying to scale ever since. And it's really really exciting. It's a lot of grinding, but a lot of advancements, a lot of small wins that eventually add up. And an opportunity to sort of carry the message and tell everybody else, especially in the industry, exactly what we're doing. And I think we do it phenomenally.
Interesting journey as it always is. And all right, so tell us kind of at the core. I mean, I think most people understand what ERPs do and what they are, but how is yours designed to fit the aviation industry?
In order to tell you that, I'll tell you a little bit of the company's origin story. So the guys that started the company had been in aviation parts supply for 15 or 16 or more years. And then they finally decided to build a product for that business. They wanted better processes. They looked around and nobody in the industry was offering what they wanted. Company A does something good, but something not so good. Company B does the same thing, and so on. And sort of if you take the best features out of the three or four suppliers out there that offered the product and you put them together, that's essentially what happened with ERP.Aero. It's an entirely interconnected, and I like to say interwoven set of modules that help you manage every bit of your core business. from inventory to RFQs to invoices, shipping and receiving, everything that you need, including the connection to the marketplaces like ILS, PartsBase, and even Locatory. So it's built in a way where aviation suppliers needed a job to happen from A to B to C without doing 10 or 15 or 20 steps. And the processes and the flow was built to mirror that. So we are able to take our customers from A to B much faster and a lot more efficiently. And within aviation, those two things add up because when you're answering RFQs or generating quotes or doing anything related to that business, time matters, and usually speed wins. And the faster that our customers are able to respond, the faster they're going to earn the business, the faster they grow, and it's a cycle that helps them all over again. So again, we were purpose built just for that, where maybe some of the competition, it takes them 8, 9, 10 clicks. We do it in 1 or 2 clicks, and we're able to get there so that we can do more.
That's a good explanation, Ralph. And so as you've gone to market, you're trying to scale. Talk about just some of the wins and losses in the phase you're in and how to manage that and kind of deal with it from a mental standpoint, staying motivated and things like that.
It's funny that you asked that. I was just talking to somebody about it yesterday, and I figured out a way to better explain it and paint a better picture. Some days I walk on water, and other days I want to jump off of a bridge, and I don't know which is which sometimes. But I say that because, not to give a sports analogy, but if you're a good baseball player, you're striking out 70% of the time. And you take the wins and you run with the wins and you try to learn from everything. Teaching the public, educating the public, getting the name out there is probably one of the hardest parts of the equation, because you have to tell the story over and over and over again. You have to be louder than the large budget that you're up against. A lot of companies like to be loud by their marketing budget. We like to be loud by our performance, and it takes a while to get somebody to look at it, but once they do, they don't go back. I mean, just a couple of statistics: 72% of our customers moved from other ERPs, and about 63 or 64% of everybody who sees ERP.Aero signs up. And that's a testament to the product. So it makes my job a little bit easier, but the day to day continues to grind. And like I said, I don't know the difference between walking on water or jumping off of a bridge. All I know is I do both, and then I get up the next day and I do it again.
Yeah. What are some of the channels you're using to try to increase that exposure?
Uh, the majority of it has been LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an excellent tool, as part of my job or part of my day, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of nights on LinkedIn building different messages, posts. I write a lot of articles. I've got a lot of promotional material and industry material on LinkedIn. I also started a newsletter a few months ago. I have about 54 or 5,450 subscribers to it. I sent 1 or 2 newsletters out every week. But the majority of my time, like I said, is on LinkedIn. I think it's an excellent medium. I think it helps get the message out. And if you're consistent and can back up your claims, people start to listen, because I think it's all about establishing your product or your solution or whatever it is that you're offering as an authority figure. People will listen and they'll remember when they want to get something, but they won't know you if you're not carrying that message. And that's what LinkedIn
Yeah,
helps me do.
sure. And as a software company, how are you kind of activating, deploying, integrating AI into your tool or for future versions of the tool?
It's funny that you bring that up too, because earlier today we had a meeting specifically about that. AI is a major component of the heart of ERP.Aero. Obviously, in a few years, it'll be another major component, but as it relates to the business, it's a central component. And our roadmap for the next 30 or 36 months is majorly stacked with AI components. And it's going to be from little things like to help you find information so you don't have to click, click, click. You can just ask and get. And it's going to be to bigger things like helping you aggregate RFQ information in order to be able to run your business better, faster, stronger. But AI is at the heart of the business. And every day that passes, it sort of becomes a bigger part. But to answer your question about, deployments and such, we have a very active roadmap, as I just mentioned. We deploy bug fixes, new features, and enhancements every single month. We also have an ERP.Aero community where our customers can learn from each other, grow with each other, communicate with each other. So we do a lot of content on that site too, which sort of answers your previous question as well, but it also highlights all of the how-to videos, the LMS that we have built in, and an opportunity to be able to share some of the stuff that we do not necessarily via email, but via community for that camaraderie or interaction that we see there. So combine all of that together, I think that's pretty much the way that we do it.
Yeah, interesting. And as far as the team there at ERP.Aero, is it a lot of software engineers, or do you have a big sales force, or is it you kind of banging doors down to try to get as much exposure as possible?
Well, the goal is to get to the first example that you gave and the second example that you gave, but right about now, I've got about 15 hats that I rotate throughout the day.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. That's how I built my business ages ago. That's how I built my former employer in 2009 all the way to 2022. I believe that you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. As corny as that might sound, I think it's absolutely true. I don't think if I were to hire somebody to do my job tomorrow, I need to be able to know what to teach them, what to make them learn, what path to follow. And I believe one of the only ways in order to be able to do that is to actually do the work yourself. So I enjoy it. It's not taking time out of my day. I still get to some of the administrative stuff that I have to do, or some of the development or operational stuff that I have to do, but I'm left with a lot of time to make contact, to open up doors, make introductions, present, and eventually bring that business on board. So it's those 15 hats that I rotate throughout the day, and I do that religiously.
Yeah. And Tyler, you mentioned the 36 month kind of runway. What's long range plans here look like for the company? Domination
Uh,
in the market?
Well, I mean, number one goal is world domination, of course. Number two goal is I really want us to become, and I think we're on our way, but I want to be that household name that people in aviation think about when they're thinking about needing a solution, because I think we go outside of just the ERP. So we've got the software, we have customers that use us every day. We pride ourselves on rapid deployment or implementation, 24/7, 365 support. It's hard to do, but we do it because it's worth it. We have a lot of native stuff out of the box, so we don't nickel and dime our customers, and ultimately we give them what they need to manage that core business that they're trying to manage. So as time progresses, I mean, that 30 or 36 months is made up of making what we have better, adding new tools as they come up, and revising the technology every time we can to allow for some of the machine learning or AI stuff in order to be able to do the same job, but yet even quicker.
Right. Fascinating. And so, as someone that has owned and sold a business in the past, and then been an employee and worked through a process to grow and learn in your current role, between kind of the original business owner and this current role, what's some words of advice you'd give other small business owners who are either thinking about taking the leap and giving it a shot, or are in it and struggling and can't seem to move forward? What's some words of wisdom you might give?
Well, depending on where they are in their journey, I would definitely say take the shot and go for it. Nobody's going to be doing it for you. So, when you're a little bit older and telling your life story, do you want to be able to say that you took the shot, or do you want to say that you had the opportunity but you missed it? But the reality is, a lot of people have already taken the shot and they might be struggling because they feel alone. I felt alone. They feel that nobody else knows their journey because I felt that nobody obviously knew my journey. I didn't know what to do next. I had to invent new ways of doing things every single day, and that's part of the equation. But one of the major lessons that I've learned over time is really easy. I'm not alone. I seek help when I need it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, and it makes you grow and it keeps you grounded and so on. So just keep doing what you're doing, number one. And number two, again, at the risk of being repetitive, ask for help. But if you're on that path, go through it because it's very, very much worth it.
Yeah, it's very easy. We come across the lonely feeling a lot with business owners, right? And it's not just lonely emotionally, but lonely of how do I figure out what to do next? So
Correct.
throughout your career, what have you kind of leaned on for resources for places to look or books to read or people to talk to or podcasts to listen to? Like, what are some of your resource library that you've used in the past?
I there's a lot. That's a really, really good question. There are a lot, rather. I find solutions, however, most frequently when I'm not specifically looking for it. It's kind of like where are my keys? If you're actively looking for your keys, you can't find them, and if you're actively looking for an answer, you're not going to find it. At least in my case, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I've seen articles on LinkedIn. I've heard people on television that put me in a position where I started to think differently, or even something now becomes apparent that I run with. And you have to be receptive to those communications or whatever you want to call them that come into your path, and you have to act on them quicker rather than later. Because if you postpone that or procrastinate on it, it won't have the same impact, and chances are by the time you end up acting on it, it might be a little bit too late. So you have to be agile. I guess that's a word to use. You have to be receptive, and sometimes stop seeking the answer on your terms. Let it come to you, which I think would be one of the major things that I'd like to get across.
There you go. And we're gonna end it right there, Ralph, because that was
Awesome.
perfect. So, obviously very passionate about your product, ERP.Aero. Ralph Merhi, thank you so much for taking the time today, and we really wish you the best of luck with growth and future success. All the
Thank
best.
you so much. Nice to meet you as well. I appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure.